You're driving to a remote Scottish castle for a weekend away with your friend. You approach the castle grounds and pass a curious looking safari park on the way in. Pulling up to the entrance, you see no other cars. Maybe your friend got stuck in traffic on the way. You sit in the car for a moment and think about the last song you wrote with your friend. You are hoping to work on some songs while staying at the castle. One of the simplest ways to change the feel of your songs is by changing the time signature they are written in. In this video, I will explain everything you need to know about time signatures in order to transform the feel of your songs. You haul your bag and guitar into the reception area and ring the bell on the empty front desk. It echoes around the cavernous castle, but no one replies. Hello? Is anyone there? There's an eerie silence. Have you got the wrong weekend? As you rack your brains, a chill runs down your spine, and you hear loud footsteps approaching. This must be my friend, you think. You turn to greet them jokingly when you are stunned into silence. A shadowy figure has entered the castle and is right up in your face. Welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. Who are you? You ask, thinking this has got weird extremely quickly. The figure stares at you blankly. Believing this has gone far enough, you turn to go back to your car. As you approach the door, it slams shut. You instinctively reach for your phone to call for help, but there is no mobile coverage. You are now really worried about your safety. Fear not, the shadowy figure says reassuringly. You are safe here. Go upstairs behind you. You'll find your room. Sleep well, for in the morning, we learn. Learn what? Before you get a reply, the shadowy figure has disappeared. You limp up to your bedroom and open the huge oak door. Inside is a large 4-post bed and a roaring fire. This looked better than the room you booked online, so think it could be worse. You settle down for the evening and close your eyes. Maybe this will be just the weekend you and your songwriting needs. You haven't slept a wink. You think you'll try and make the most of the weekend, maybe go for a walk. Hopefully they have a landline you can use to contact your friend. You're absolutely starving, so get dressed and go down the stairs looking for food. The castle looks less menacing and more tired by daylight. Tracing your steps back down the stairs, you come across a large room with breakfast laid out on a grand table. Every possible type of breakfast is available, and it looks delicious. Bizarrely, there's a full drum kit in the corner. You rush over to tuck into the food, and the door to the room slams shut. Here we go again, you tell yourself. Predictably, the shadowy figure emerges. The key to transforming the feel of your songs is to understand time signatures, he says from behind the drum kit. Time signatures require some very simple knowledge of beats and bars to understand. A beat is the basic unit of time in music. It is often defined as the rhythm listeners tap their toes to, or the numbers musicians count. A bar, also known as a measure, is a segment of time corresponding to a certain number of beats. The number and duration of beats in a bar is determined by the time signature, also known as the meter. Tempo, or the speed of a song, is determined by how many beats are heard in a minute. This is also known as BPM. You acknowledge the shadowy figure's brief lesson. You think to yourself, I understand time signatures, but deep down you know that you don't really get what the different numbers mean. There's more to learn. Don't panic. I'll teach you, the figure says. Did he read my mind? As you reach for a second pan au chocolat, there's a knock at the door. It sounds suspiciously like a wooden block metronome from Ableton and has a familiar rhythm. The door swings open and the shadowy figure announces, Introducing 4/4. It's the big one, 4/4, also known as common time or simply represented with the letter C. It is by far the most used time signature in classical and popular Western music. I recognise 4/4, you say. It's called 4/4 because it has 4 beats in each bar. That's correct, the shadowy figure says. But do you know what these two numbers really mean? A time signature is made up of two numbers and looks like a fraction. The top number in a time signature represents how many beats there are per bar. This can be any number that you like. The bottom number tells you what kind of beat to count. This is the type of note that each beat is comprised of. It will always be a subdivision of a whole note. Here are all the possible bottom numbers in a time signature and their corresponding note value. The first beat in a bar is always emphasised. That means you play the note after a bar line a little stronger than the other notes in the bar. This allows you to feel the difference between time signatures. So in 4/4, which you just heard, you have 4 quarter note beats in each bar. Ah, this is really straightforward, you say to the shadowy figure, assuming he'll care what you think. Knowing this will allow me to transform the feel of the songs I write with my friend. But songs in 4/4 have notes of different lengths in them, not just quarter notes. How does that work? You don't have to use only quarter notes if the bottom number in the time signature is a 4. This is also true regardless of what the bottom number is. You can use longer or shorter notes too. Just remember that every single bar should always add up to the correct number of beats indicated in the time signature. There's another knock at the door. Give it up for 3-4. The next time signature you're most likely to come across is 3-4. You know that this will put 3 quarter notes into each bar. Changing the emphasis to every third beat creates a familiar waltz or country ballad feel. And last but not least, it's 6-8. Hey, this sounds like 3-4, you say to the shadowy figure. That's right, a song in 3-4 played at a higher tempo could sound like it's in 6-8, and a song in 6-8 played at a slower tempo will sound like 3-4. This is a situation where there can be more than one way to interpret a time signature. Sometimes clues can be found in the melody or harmony of a song, but as the songwriter you know what time signature you intend the piece to be in and can communicate that to other musicians. Time signatures are more powerful than you think. They can transform a song and elevate it to new heights by adding interest and variation beyond 4/4. One of the most popular examples that people refer to is Money by Pink Floyd. The distinctive opening bass line and Money sound uses 7/4 or 7/8, depending on who you ask, time signature. Count along with the song and you'll discover this. It then switches to 4/4 for the extended guitar solo. Another song that uses an interesting time signature is Tolerate It by Taylor Swift. It is in 5/4 time, although some people say it is in 10/8. As you've seen, opinions on time signatures can differ. Whatever side of this you fall on, using an irregular meter for this song gives it a distinctive sound and feel. If you want to make a song stand out, try it in a different time signature and see how it feels. This is just the start, the shadowy figure announces. Tonight I will put you into groups before one of you is murdered. Shocked, surprised and scared, you spend the day talking to as many time signatures as you can, trying to find out what they think about this. You try your phone again, but you can't get a signal to talk to your friend. Some of the time signatures say that they never connected the castle to the telephone network to avoid people talking about the terrible things that took place here in the past. This was not good to hear. Later on you go for dinner, but you don't have an appetite. There's a storm raging outside, which would make any potential escape even more difficult. You can hear some commotion in the distance from the safari park nearby. The food shaped like numbers seems like a sick joke that only the shadowy figure could lower themselves to. It is time. Follow me. You shuffle into a darkened room with a large wooden round table. You sit at the far end of the table, looking towards the doorway. The time signatures congregate by the door, waiting for instruction. The shadowy figure declares, "Regulars, sit to my right. Irregulars, to my left." There are a few different ways to categorise time signatures. The main two are regular or common and irregular. A regular time signature is defined by having a top number that is divisible by 2, 3 or 4. For example, the time signature 3/4 is a regular time signature because 3 can be divided by 3. But 5/8, which has 5/8 note beats in a bar, has a top number 5 which can't be divided by 2, 3 or 4, and so is an irregular time signature. I will now put you into further groups. You may be in more than one, the shadowy figure states, clearly enjoying this role. As I move around the table, those I touch on the shoulder will be part of the group I state. First I will turn to the regulars. You can further categorise regular time signatures into 3 more groups: duple time or meter, triple time or meter, and quadruple time or meter. These are referring to whether a regular time signature can be divided by 2, 3 or 4. Duple time is where you have 2 main beats in a bar. An example of this would be 2/4, which has 2 quarter note beats in a bar. Triple time is where you have 3 main beats in a bar. An example of this would be 3/4, which has 3 quarter note beats in a bar. Quadruple time is where you have 4 main beats in a bar. An example of this would be 4/4, which has 4 quarter note beats in a bar. And now, more division. Another way to group time signatures is into either simple or compound. There is an easy way to remember the difference. A simple time signature has a top number that's either a 2, 3 or 4. A compound time signature has a top number that's a multiple of 3, but not including 3, such as 6, 9 or 12. You saw earlier that the first beat in a bar is accented or emphasised. In compound time signatures, you also introduce a slightly softer accent on each successive beat. To determine the number of accents per measure under a compound time signature, divide the top number by 3. Doing so helps you find the pulse in the music you're playing, and therefore where to put the accents. You have your group, you may be in more than one group, but who are you faithful to? Who will have your back? And who do you trust? Who would you betray? You can go now, but be warned. Tonight, one of you will be murdered. You go for a drink with the time signatures. Who do you trust? Which time signature do you feel is not being truthful? Does one sound more authentic than another? One by one, the time signatures are asked to leave for the evening. As the clock strikes 12, it's time for you to go. Lying in bed, you can't escape the closeness between 5-4 and 10-8. Surely they'll gang together to murder someone. You close your eyes and try a breathing technique to help you drift off to sleep. Suddenly, there's a knock at your bedroom window. A flash of lightning from the storm outside reveals the shadowy figure pointing and shouting. You've learnt all about time signatures, but this knowledge doesn't mean you'll be able to finish your songs. This can be solved with 3 simple tips that can be found in the video on screen. Make sure you watch that next to put your time signature mastery to great use.